Dear viewers, I may have possibly cooked. So I decided to make this model because of two occasions. The first one, of course, because the new Deltarune chapter is coming out soon, which is really exciting, especially for Deltarune fans. Well, probably only Deltarune fans. I don't know why other not Deltarune fans would be excited. Anyways, and you gotta know, my favorite Deltarune character is absolutely Tenna. Well, behind Newbert, but besides that, he's my favorite Deltarune character, because Newbert's low-key the GOAT. And I don't know if you've seen the teasers, but it seems that Tricky Tony has decided to make sort of like a historical, traditional Japanese kind of visuals to the whole thing for what we've seen. And call this a coincidence, but the exact like same week that the whole chapter is coming out is the exact same week that I'm gonna be taking a trip to Japan. I'm pretty sure that Tony was like, oh yeah, this guy's going to Japan, so let's just make chapter 5 Japan. I'm not in cahoots with Tony, but I'm pretty sure he's in cahoots with me. He probably knows every single thing that happens in my daily life, but I've never spoken to the man once. It's like kind of a one-sided relationship, but you know. That's how it goes. No, but in all seriousness, it's a crazy coincidence, and I'm so excited for both things. I'm excited to go to Japan because this is my first time ever visiting this far away from home. And plus, you got the chapter 5. Oh my god. Anyways, those are the two occasions why I'm doing this. So getting into the meat of the burger, what I wanted to do with this Tenna model is make it specifically kind of like a mixture of these two things, Japan and Deltarune. Now, this isn't an interpretation of what I think Tenna would look like in chapter 5. It's just kind of like my own thing where it's just Japan mixed with Deltarune. And specifically what came to mind was kind of this mixture of themes that I kind of wanted to paste onto Tenna and just the feel of the overall model. So what I was thinking for his looks was kind of this retro 90s kind of like city pop Japanese type of just feel to the whole thing. Holy buzzword. So what I did was visit every artist's favorite place, Pinterest, and I pretty much just put all those buzzwords I mentioned earlier into the search bar, kind of get like the results that I wanted. And here's some examples. I just got like a ton of images of exactly what I wanted. These were the ones that I kind of just picked out and selected. And then I came across this image, which it hit the spot perfectly. I saw this thing and I was like, yep, this is the main thing that I want to use as a reference. So using mostly this reference, I just drew a couple of sketches of Tenna, what he would look like in the fit. Here are some other previous drawings of Tenna since I've been wanting to make a model or a sculpt of him for quite a while now, and I just threw these into Blender so that I can have a sense of security while modeling and to just kind of guide wherever I go with the model. And I'm so glad I chose this feel to the whole thing because if you don't know, I love like 90s style television, sort of TV host, all that stuff is just my favorite thing, like one of my favorite things in the world. And Tenna is basically the embodiment of that. So being able to put him in a fit like this is just really cool. If you're also a fan of this kind of stuff, let me know because this stuff is super awesome. Just like shout it out in the comments. Be like, yeah, I love that stuff. As I was making the sketches, I was also kind of trying to decide what pose I want to put him in. But after a couple of sketches, I just ended up slapping together this one. And it was simple, just simple standing pose. But I liked it. I didn't really want to overthink it too much and just kind of move on. So that's what I did. So as soon as I started working on it, the head was like the easiest part for me because I've modeled a couple of simple TVs before and his is probably the simplest you can get as far as it goes for TVs. So it wasn't too much of a hassle, just kind of a cube with a couple of rounded areas and just an inset right here where the face goes. And of course, another thing that I eventually did end up doing with the head was I ended up kind of shaping his eyebrows like this by simply just adding a little kind of cut right here where it's not exactly the appropriate or best place to add it, but sometimes I just do whatever to get stuff done. I mean, if it works, it works. That might as well be my motto. And moving on to the clothes, I think the shirt was probably the part that gave me like the most amount of trouble, and it still wasn't even that much trouble. I was trying to get it to have that same boxy, loose feeling that it has in the reference, which by the way is engraved in my brain. I didn't pull it up a single time. It was actually just burned into my retina the first time I saw it. But as I was trying to get that sort of roundish, yet also keep that square feeling to the shirt, it just wasn't exactly working with the whole subdivision thing. So at the end of the day, I ended up just keeping it a cube with a couple of loop cuts and just shaped around, moved around, adjusted, and with a couple more adjustments towards the end. But at the end of the day, it's pretty boxy, and that's fine, it works for it. And for the sleeves, it's just these big, wide, sort of cylinder sleeve thingies. I don't know, there's not really much to say about them. And for the pants, I really liked doing the pants because I just never modeled pants like this, where they're just kind of long and really high up grandpa pants. But I love them, I love these kind of pants so much. And then of course I threw on this belt buckle, which like perfected the pants even more. And of course this little narcissist has the shape of his head as his belt. It's awesome though. Loki might start doing that. For the tie, I kind of just left it aside after I made it, but I brought it back later and I made it super cool. I love these weird goofy ties that I saw like also in the reference. I immediately wanted to put the weirdest texture I could find and just slap it onto the tie and make it work. But before I get into the textures, I gotta talk about these arms. Making these arms was a little bit silly. They were a little less muscly than I wanted them to be, but I guess I'm just not good at making muscly characters. Loki just be making a bunch of noodle guys. But I tried giving him like at least some kind of human bulk to his arms. Keyword tried. And then for the antennas on top of his head, I'm aware that maybe I could have used some kind of other tool that would have probably made it easier for me to just, you know, make a squiggly thing. But this is the way that I did it. I was too lazy to search it up, so I just did it like this. Even though later on I ended up using one of those tools to make this thing for the telephone thingy. I'll get into that later. For his hands, I probably should have done something else. I probably should have actually put bones inside the hands so that I can pose them better. Because it took me a bit of a while and it was a bit of a struggle to try to move the hands to the pose that I wanted without any bones. But I just felt that I didn't have time for bones, especially for this model. I just kind of wanted to make a sculpt. And if you do want me to put bones into this model, then let me know, because I totally can. But I would probably have to remake a couple of things. But I am kind of glad that I ended up making him a sculpt instead of a model, because I feel like if I made him a model, I wouldn't have explored enough stuff that I did if I had just made him a model. Because when you make posable models, you kind of have to like ignore the posable parts and the fun aspects and kind of just make something that's functional and then have fun later. But I wasn't up for that today. I just wanted to have straight up fun. Also, his nose is literally just a cone. There's nothing else to say about that. So now getting into the textures, it was a little bit weird. The way that I do textures, again, isn't the correct way to do things. I do a lot of things that aren't correct, okay? But I just lazily pasted on the textures, image textures, just on the front page, which is not how you're supposed to do it. If you want it to actually look good, you have to do UV. You have to do UV unwrapping and all that stuff. But I just wasn't willing. What can I say? I'm a lazy guy. And I feel like because of that, there isn't really anything to say about the textures. They're just slapped on textures of images that I have, and I switched up the colors a little bit in the nodes, and that's it. I mean, they look fine, not super great, and a little bit warped in a couple of sides, but they look fine. And onto his face, what I wanted to do was just grease pencil, but I thought it would be a little bit silly if I added grease pencil with a little bit of glow and light to it, because, you know, he's a TV. So I did think that it would be cool if I added that little detail, and boom, here it is. Let me know what you think about that. Also off camera, I added a bit of details like the phone that I modeled and the wire and a couple of other extra things, like I gave him a pocket and just rounded up the shirt a little bit more. But I mostly want to talk about this wire because even though I didn't exactly record the entire process, I really liked the way this worked because I feel like for this one, I definitely needed to use some kind of spiral tool, which I did. And it ended up looking great, but now I just needed it to kind of curve in a weird path. And after like just a quick Google search and a YouTube tutorial, I figured out that I could just turn the spiral like to follow this one path that I have here. It's a kind of hard to see line right here, but it follows this path, and if I move it like up and down, it kind of follows it like a train or a snake, and it looks kind of cool. And I don't really use tools like this very often, but I definitely have to start doing it because this is really cool. Yeah, I wasn't too sure if I wanted to add like a background or more detail or anything like that. I didn't. There's nothing. It's just darkness. But hey, in my opinion, this model ended up coming out really cool, and I'm really excited for that Japan trip and for Chapter 5. And I hope you guys are also excited for Chapter 5 and maybe also Japan, because that also means content, because they'll make probably a video. Alright, but that's all I have to say about this model, so now time to destroy it. Psych, you thought I would kill Tenna? No, the love of my life? Impossible. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video and for making it this far. Make sure to like and subscribe and do all those things because they really help me out. And thank you also especially to all my Patreon members for all your support. Thank you so very much, and you get this video early, of course, along with many other perks. If you want this Tenna model for yourself to 3D print or something or whatever, go check out my Patreon. It's on there for money, but it's on there and pretty cheap, to be fair. And thank you all genuinely for your support. All these videos, your guys' views, you just being here, this helps out a lot. And I would like to get a new computer so that it stops crashing on me all the time. So share the video. Thank you. That's it. Goodbye. Wow.